mark and your applied goal. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for the introduction again, Trung. Yeah, so my career journey, like Christian, I've been in the construction industry a very long time, more than 40 years. Started off my career, my first degree was in quantity surveying. So I worked as a quantity surveyor, working for a UK national contractor for the first several years of my career, but working on building projects, so large office complex, teaching hospital, those kinds of things. After about 10 or 15 years of working in that environment, I had a big change, and I went to work on a very large hydro project in China, and worked there for 2 years. So that was a very big change, not only in the environment but also in the type of work. So from you know, dealing with claims about doors and windows, you know, I was dealing in drill and blast tunneling and rock support and all these kinds of things, which I found much more interesting than doors and windows. And so that kind of civil engineering project has been more my experience since then. I came back from China and I worked on claims on the Jubilee Line extension in London that was going on at the time. And from there, I did a master's degree at King's College in London, construction law and arbitration. And since then, really, I've had a dispute practice working on claims and adjudications and arbitrations, some in the UK, but many internationally, working on a lot of FIDIC contracts, and as Trung said, in different parts of the world, particularly South Africa, and then Panama on the extension of the Panama Canal. And so really how I came to decide to try and get myself onto the FIDIC President's List was a conversation with somebody, you know, who told me that that FIDIC were trying to open up the list. They realised that the list had been frozen for a very long time. It was the same people. It was very restricted. It certainly was not diverse, and so that there was a real decision to try and open up the list, try and diversify the list. And so I was persuaded to make the application and try and get on the FIDIC President's List. So the question is, what preparation did I do for the exam? My FIDIC, just through my experience, I always considered to be quite good, my FIDIC knowledge, but you know, I hadn't really done any studying since my master's degree, which was nearly 20 years ago. And also, as the other speakers have said, nobody really so far has used the 2017 versions of FIDIC, and so you know, I wasn't familiar with those. And so I decided to do, before I did the FIDIC exams, I did the FIDIC Module 3, which was the adjudicator training, which was, it was an additional commitment and some additional money as well. All these things cost money. But I did find that really helped me to concentrate on learning the differences between the 1999 versions and then the 2017 versions. So that was and also I think put me in the right mindset, you know, back into studying and you know, ready to take the exam. So that's what I did by way of preparation, I think. But as well as some of the other things that Christian and Nina have said, you know, you just have to sit down with the contracts and really familiarize yourself, and you know, to get yourself prepared. And then, I mean, advice for participants if you're doing the exam, as the other speakers have explained, it's in 2 phases. The first phase is a multiple choice over 6 hours. You answer 100 questions, and I think, as Nina said, that gives you an average of about 3 minutes per question, 3 minutes plus. And so what I found is, as you're going through the questions, even with my, I think quite good physics knowledge, I would say there were probably maximum 15 of those questions, and I looked at them and I thought, okay, I know the answer, and that was that. So you just tick the right one. There were others that I think you really need a good knowledge of where to look. So you just do not have time to be studying different all the different forms, and if you don't know generally where the answer to something is, so that's the other advice or a trick you need, that you at least need to be familiar where to look. If it's a certain subject, you're going to be looking in this at these clauses, because so the average is 3 minutes. Some of them you can answer very, very quickly, and others will take longer. And so what you do, okay, you don't say, okay, I've got literally 3 minutes per question, but kind of keep checking yourself maybe at the end of every hour, just see if you're on average to get to the 100 questions by the end of the 6 hours. So I think that there are you need to understand what where to look in the book, and how to get to the answer as quickly as you can. The format of the questions is it's a little bit mixed. They are multiple choice, but there can be more than one correct answer. And what they like to do is use a lot of double negatives as well. So which of the following two statements are not correct, something like that. And so your mind has to work through the double negatives, which in the first hour and second hour, that's okay. By the time you get to the 5th hour and the 6th hour, your brain is fried and trying to work out what the double negatives are. So it is a test, and it is rigorous. So you would have to be ready for those kinds of mental gymnastics as well. Most of the questions, I would say, a lot of the questions do tend to be on either the FIDIC 1999 or 2017, either the red book or the yellow book. I would say that's the majority of the questions, but you do need to know, a favourite topic of FIDIC at the moment is the Emerald book, and so they have for tunnelling works, and so they're going to have a few questions on that. They will have probably a couple of questions on the dredging book. I don't know anybody who's ever worked on the dredging book, but you need to have some familiarity of what the questions may be. They also like to have some questions on the short form as well. So you need to be familiar with all of those, and I think Nina touched on it. That there are you have to. It's an open book exam. But only for what they call permitted material, and the permitted material are copies of, and I think it's 11. I thought it was 11 contracts. You will have to have copies of those, preferably electronically, because they're easier to search. And as Nina's good advice, there was really practice, switching between the different contracts, because you will have to do that very quickly. The phase 2 exam is very rigorous. It's a real marathon. It's 48 hours. I would say in 48 hours I got maybe 8 hours sleep, something like that. You start early in the morning, and you start with the exam questions. Each question, and there are 7 in total, I think, over the 2 days. And each question you are given 1 hour and a quarter to answer it, and they are essay questions. So again, 1 hour and a quarter goes by very, very quickly. And in fact, it's not 1 hour and a quarter, because what happens is it's all done electronically, and so you have to draft your essay, and then you have to submit it by uploading it and clicking. And if you don't click by the end of the hour and 15 minutes, you'll get 0 points for that essay. So all the other participants are on the screen, so you can see everyone finishes with a maximum 1 hour and 10 minutes to go, because nobody wants a problem uploading their answer. So practically each question is 1 hour and 10 minutes, because you don't want to run the risk of some kind of glitch when you're trying to upload your answer and end up getting zero points for that. What I did, and I'm going to try something. I'm going to try sharing a little bit here. Let's see how this goes. Just to give a little bit more. So I don't know if people can see this. People can tell me if it's coming up. So this is this is all, I think, FIDIC or FIDIC credentialing proprietary material. So I'm just going to flash it up. It's not something to, but it gives some idea of the timetable. So first of all, day one, you have an introduction kind of by the invigilators, and then you have 2 hours to read all the material. And then the material, and it would be interesting to see what happened with other people who were taking the exam at different times. Certainly, one of the scenarios is super complicated, and they just make it this way, I think. And so you need to think about use this time and draw out diagrams. There was one that we had. It was 2 parallel projects. There were different project managers for each project, but there were crossovers, and then each entity had each contractor and each project manager, they had a different acronym. So you ended up with this real alphabet soup of acronyms. And so I think it was very important to spend that time and draw out diagrams to really understand who are the contracting parties, who's the engineer or who's the project manager, depending on what the contract is. So I think use that time wisely, to try and really understand. What I found was that the 3 different scenarios were quite different. One was, I remember one was very quantity driven. It was all really, it was about bill of quantities, and that actually formed the part of one of the overnight assignments. And then you can see, as you go through, you get breaks, and then so these sections of the hour and a quarter that you get for each essay, and then you have a break in between. But what you have in the middle of that is a kind of rolling program of mock adjudications, and the mock adjudication is an important part of the assessment. And so you split into groups. You can see all the groups here, A to H. And then because there's only one panel of assessors to test you on the mock adjudication, then that's a kind of rolling program. So, Group A does theirs first while everybody else is doing an exam question, and then Group 2, etc., and that rolls through the whole of the 2 days. I got this timetable. I thought, I hope I'm not Group A, because you're the very first people to do it. The information you have in front of you is very new, and so it's probably not a good place to be. But anyway, I was in Group A, so I was on the first group to answer. But it went very well. I was very lucky. I was paired with, because you're put in groups of 3, and I was paired with two excellent other candidates, and we worked very well together. And for us, that went quite well. But again, that is a challenge. So you have the exams that go through the day, and I think, as Nina was saying, you get to the end of the day, you're very tired, but then you have an overnight assignment. So you finish at 6:30, and then you have to start on your overnight assignment, which has to be handed in by, I think it's about 8:30 the next day, or 9:15. Okay, 9:30 the next day, and then you start again with this kind of rolling program. And then at the end of day 2, you get another overnight assignment, and then that has to be handed in at the beginning of the 3rd day. So it's kind of two overnight assignments, and then all the exam questions. So this is just to give an idea how challenging it is. You're always up against the time. You need a lot of coffee, and really, think about sleeping, another time. Just get on with it. So I mean, that's really most of the things I have to say by way of sharing my experience of doing the exam. If there are any of the participants who, even after today and thinking about it some more, want to do want to continue and try to do the exams, please contact me on a one-to-one basis. I'm happy to kind of run through some things in more detail or whatever. Yeah, that's my contribution. And then I'll stop sharing the screen if I've not already. There we go.
Thank you very much.